So Bolivia, right? We've covered the coup that happened in late 2019 and the right-wing takeover, which was supported by the U.S., and some recent developments, right? So as you know, MAS, which is the Socialist Party, which was led by Evo Morales, was ousted by this U.S.-backed coup in late 2019. They won the elections, right? Just a few months back. They actually took back their country, and now they've arrested the coup leaders. So when Evo Morales was, again, I love how the mainstream media report on this. He just resigned, right? He just resigned. No, he was forced into resignation because it was a coup. When he left, he fled. This woman took over, right? She's a senator, and she declared herself the president of Bolivia. We're talking about Janine Áñez, okay? So you might remember her. There we go, Janine Áñez. And this is her now, behind bars. All right? So this is from Al Jazeera. This was on the 13th of March, right? So just about 2 weeks ago. So Bolivia's former interim president, Janine Áñez, has been arrested over the 2019, pay attention to the words, political crisis that saw her replace predecessor Evo Morales, reigniting tensions in the South American nation. The conservative politician had faced an arrest warrant on charges of terrorism. I love how they put it in quotes, in quotation marks, sedition, and conspiracy over an alleged coup after she replaced Morales in November 2019 when he fled the country during widespread protests against his re-election. Again, whitewashing history, right? So let me zoom in actually so you can actually read that. This is from Carlos Eduardo del Castillo, okay? So he's a government minister. He said, I informed the Bolivian people that Mrs. Janine Áñez has already been apprehended and is currently in the hands of the police. And then Castillo congratulated the police for their great work and in this historic task of giving justice to the Bolivian people, right? And what's really interesting here is pay attention to the language, because if you look at the way Al Jazeera are reporting this, right, they say that this was an alleged coup, right? That's the language that they're using. Okay? The events constituted a coup. Like they won't actually acknowledge that it was a coup, which is extremely bizarre to me because, you know, when you have people, when you have violent right-wingers that come over and burn down your sister's house, which is what they did to Evo Morales, and they come and trash your house, they trash the president's house, and then they threaten other government ministers and government officials with violence. And then the chief of the armed forces asks you to resign. He's not asking you to resign. Look, man, when the army asks you to resign, right, to tender your resignation, they're fucking cooing you. It's a military takeover. It's a military coup, okay? And not a peaceful one. People died, right? During and after. So just let me remind you, you had summary executions and widespread repression under Bolivia's interim government, okay? They're killing indigenous people most of all, right? Almost exclusively. If you look here that it says here, Áñez assumed power on November 12th. By the way, this is from Harvard, right? Áñez assumed power in November 12th, 2019 with the mandate of calling new elections by January 2020. Under her administration, Bolivia has endured a surge of human rights violations. Shortly after Áñez took power, state forces carried out operations that killed at least 23 Bolivian civilians, all indigenous, and injured over 230. These casualties make November 2019 the second deadliest month in terms of civilian deaths committed by state forces since Bolivia became a democracy nearly 40 years ago. And of course, the United States supported this coup, right? This is Donald Trump's statement right after. So again, look at this. The resignation yesterday of Bolivian President Evo Morales is a significant moment for democracy in the Western Hemisphere. No, it wasn't a resignation. You literally cooed him with the OAS, the Organization of American States, which called the election results fraudulent And, they said there was a huge discrepancy between the preliminary results and the final results, and that this clearly indicated voter fraud. And then, of course, the mainstream media ran with it. Washington Post, New York Times, all of them. Yeah, look, election fraud. He's cheating. And he left because he got caught. Not because, they threatened him with violence and the military couped him. And, it turns out a few months later, those discrepancies, which they claim were 100% bulletproof evidence of election fraud, were actually totally fine. There was no election fraud, and he won the election. And they refused to refer to what happened as a coup, despite the police and the military literally ousting the dude. I mean, he had to flee. First, I think it was to Mexico, and then he ended up in Argentina. Right now, he's back, as we saw, since a few months. Arce is now the president, and again from the same party, from MAS, so Movement for Socialism. And it's frankly unbelievable that the mainstream media is basically shielding this U.S.-backed coup, not just then, but also now. Even after they reported that, we were wrong and there was nothing wrong with it, with the election results. Morales did not cheat, and they ignore all of this. And so this is from Telesur. A judge has revoked Agnès' transfer to a medical center. Okay, so let me just zoom in again for you. There you go. So they're saying that her defense, has filed 3 different appeals to prevent her transfer to a prison. On the last occasion, her lawyers alleged that the defendant was going through a hypertension crisis. So I believe that's high blood pressure, for which she would receive treatment at the Sur Clinic in La Paz. However, on Friday, the criminal investigation judge, Armando Zeballos, revoked her transfer request and ordered to create an ad hoc medical team to assist Agnès while in prison. All right. So she's claiming that, she did nothing wrong. And if we go here and look at the charges. So again, this is from Al Jazeera. They're saying Bolivia's Janine Agnès ordered to 4 months pretrial detention. And, they've charged her with terrorism, which they put in under quotation marks in the last one. And it's not just her, right? Like, I don't want you to think that this is a witch hunt just against her, or that there's something going on here. No, they've also gone after the head of the army, right? So this is also from Telesur. Ex-army commander arrested for his role in the 2019 coup, right? So Mendieta commanded the army when General Caliman suggested to Evo Morales that he should leave the presidency. Bolivian Public Prosecutor's Office on Monday arrested former army commander Jorge Mendieta for his involvement in the coup against ex-president Evo Morales after the 2019 elections, right? Mendieta commanded the army when General Caliman told Morales, and again, when the army is suggesting that you leave, it's a coup. I don't really know how more I can simplify that for you. This happened again in November 2019, right? So one other interesting point that you need to note is that Bolivia, it's not just an interesting point, it's everything. Bolivia sits on the world's largest reserves of lithium. And I covered this before. I did a piece on it about how you had, even Elon Musk, for example, right? He makes these Tesla cars. They literally run on batteries, and lithium is used to make batteries. And talking about what happened in Bolivia, he said, "We'll coup whoever we want" on Twitter, and then he deleted that. And then Janine Agnès, who's now been arrested, who proclaimed herself the president, she was trying to dissolve deals that Evo Morales' government had organized, in order to extract this lithium, which would have gone to the people, right? So, I mean, these people that took over, they're not interested in fucking democracy. First of all, they didn't even hold the elections that they promised in January. That did not come. It was delayed several months. And then, of course, they're trying to cooperate with multinationals and get their hands on Bolivia's reserves of lithium instead of it going to the people. That's what they, again, it's all about resources, man. It's not a coincidence that Bolivia sits on the largest lithium salts in the world. It's not a coincidence that Venezuela has the largest reserves of oil in the world, right? These are not coincidences, man. These people will kill, they will coup, they will, go and implement regime change and put in whoever they like for money, right? That's what they did in Iran in 1953. They kicked out, they couped Mossadegh for the oil. because he nationalized the oil. They went and did that in Guatemala in 1954, right? Because of United Fruit Company. Yes, over fucking bananas. They will literally kill people and push a coup. It's you know, it's not just about regime change in the sense of politics. I mean, don't kid yourself. These people are not. Oh, goddamn it, one of my posters fell down. CIA is knocking through the window. Be careful. But seriously, like, these people don't care about actually pushing democracy. They don't give a fuck, right? This is all a cover. They don't care about, look, we're going to promote free and fair elections in Bolivia now. They don't give a shit, man. This is all about pushing corporations' agenda, making sure that, you know, they can extract oil, lithium. In the case of Afghanistan, you got tons of, look at the opium trade. You go and look at 2001, 2002 when they invaded. Look at the production of opium, skyrocketed under US occupation. It's all about fucking profits. Make no mistake, whether it's at home or it's abroad, that's all the government is doing. They're not actually representing people. They're there to push corporate agenda. And it's the same thing here. And they will use tools like the OAS, like the Organization of American States, to, you know, play this role of the arbiter. Like, oh yeah, look, we've caught some discrepancies, and this is clear indication of election fraud. And I'm sorry, but you're illegitimate. You know, it's like the OAS is based in Washington D.C., right? Most of its funding comes from the United States. It's a Cold War institution. So they've launched this entire sustained media campaign in order to portray Morales as, again, oh look, he's a dictator. Oh my God, he's stealing the elections. Oh my God, there's election fraud. You know, the guy is trying to impose his will on the Bolivian people and be their president for a fourth term. Same shit. They always demonize the leader of a country with vast resources that they want to go after. That's what it's all about. It's disgusting. And so even now, to see that they're, you know, Bolivians actually getting justice for motherfuckers that tried to run a coup, they're still trying to say, oh, no, this was not a coup. It was an alleged coup. It's an alleged coup. Yo, I don't know. Dude, when you have the military and the police telling the president to fuck off, I mean, it does not get more it does not get more clear and explicit than that. It really does not. They were going to kill that guy, okay? His life was literally in danger. They killed his dog. Do you know they shot his fucking dog? I mean, that's how deranged these people are. And so it's actually interesting. One of you pointed this out, that, you know, their regime change puppet was not saved. Usually the United States, you know, they'll try and save their tools. They'll try and give them some kind of protection. And in this case, it's just I guess in one sense, it's not surprising. If you look at a lot of the allies that the United States has formed in the past, when they're done with them, they feed them to the wolves. You know, they used Saddam to attack Iran. Look what they did afterwards to Saddam, right? Look at Gaddafi, right? I mean, obviously, I think they're quite different, the two. But, you know, my point is that, for example, Gaddafi was friends with Sarkozy. He gave him millions for his re-election campaign. And then what does Sarkozy do? He turns around and fucking bombs him. I mean, like they literally use African and Arab and Latin American leaders and then turn around and just stab them in the back, right? And look at the Kurds, for example. The Americans and, you know, they've used the Kurds as a buffer against the Syrian government. And then, as you saw, they kind of just pulled out and left nothing in between them and Turkey. And I mean, again, this is so funny because you hear people like AOC saying like, oh no, Trump should not pull out of Turkey because, pull out of Syria because, you know, this is irresponsible. It's too soon. Like she's trying to justify occupation, the illegal occupation of Syria, by claiming that it's under the pretext of some humanitarian mission for the Kurds. Like this is ridiculous, right? And this is how you end up with forever wars. They always have like this reasoning. Oh, it's too soon. We can't pull out just yet. No, this is not going to work. Blah 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 blah. Right? They'll come up with any reason. But my point here is how the United States, the UK, they always use people and then they just dump them at the last second, right? They have no allies or friends. They just use people. And this, you'll see the same shit happen with Saudi Arabia, right? Saudi Arabia thinks that, oh, they're protected, they're safe because they're working with Israel, and you know, you have Bahrain and UAE that are also playing on the same team. One day there's going to come a day where they're going to get fucked. That day is coming. the United States is going to put a knife in their back. That's what it's going to come down to. So anyway, I mean, I don't want to laugh at people's misery, but I'm not going to cry over seeing this fucking right-wing tool for the United States being thrown in jail after what she did. I mean, these people, they took out Bolivia's first indigenous president. He lifted out so many people from, he lifted so many people out of poverty. You know, every time someone does something good for their people in a socialist country, they have to go and coup him. Always, right? You can't nationalize the country's resources. No. You better give us a cut. You give our multinationals a cut or we will fuck you up. Always about money. It's always about profit. So I'm glad that Bolivia is they made it out, right, of that. And by the way, the U.S. has couped them before in the past. Like this is how fucked up their policy is towards Latin America. That it's not that they've interfered in literally every single Latin American country. They have interfered multiple times in some of those countries, right? Done like several coups. Like, yeah, this is. And then people wonder, why are there so-called migrants coming from Central and Latin America? No, they're refugees. You've been fucking their countries for decades, stealing their resources, you know, subjugating them, imposing sanctions on them. That's why they're fleeing, because you destroy their countries. You stole everything. You build yourself up, and then you scratch your head while they're coming. And the Europeans do the same thing, right? The UK calls Libyans or people from Somalia or Afghanistan or Syria or wherever they're coming from, they're migrants. No, they're refugees, and you're to blame. So anyway, I'm glad to see that the Bolivians have taken back their country, and that they did not become another puppet of the United States. Good for them. Solidarity.